6:15 p.m. United States East Coast, coming to you from Maine in the heart of Pineland. Lord's blessings upon each and every one of you. Doing an unusual evening show. You may occasionally hear various noises and commentary from my wife, Dana. Say hi or grunt. There you go. We grunted. You may also hear from Barb. She's hanging out with us tonight. So I came on for a special episode. Didn't plan on doing one tonight, but we got to talk about what just happened in Canada. They enacted the Emergency Act up there, and I want you to know what basically happened. So we'll get into that here in 1 second. I'm just going to give a second for people to proliferate into here as they always do. Reminder for those of you who are watching, P.O. Box 35, Greenville Junction, Maine 04442. The Venmo CVC PRV. Your questions will be welcome. This is a fast moving situation, as are other ones, including the push for World War, Civil War, every war. It just seems like wars and rumors of wars. But I was really proud of the name of this episode, so I'm going to sing my little bit here while we're waiting. Oh, Canada. Oh, wait, no, I said it. Whoa, Canada, the banks can take your money. See, I added a second verse to that.
Awful.
Shit, I'm the talent. Don't mind that. I'll tell you how it is. But anyway, so here's what they did in Canada. They enacted the Emergency Act, which they've never done before, even when 9/11 was happening, and they never did it when there was a rioting or anything. And they, of course, was a big fan of BLM protests, but we won't go there. But what they did was, because of the various lockdowns by the truckers, they leaned into them pretty hard, and they said, and this is probably the part that's really got people spooked, is they basically said that banks on suspicion can take away your money from your account and the government will back them up. So now your money in Canada is worthless, and you should expect, if you're Canadian, and this will spread to other countries potentially, there will be a bank run, and this is where life gets interesting. Now, yours truly spent a lot of time this morning, and I hope you watched. If you didn't pay attention, you should go back. I told you we were going to be fighting an economic warfare. The crazy old coot in the cabin studied history. I was reading books, as Sean Connery said in the Indiana Jones movie, and you learn some things from reading books about these things that happen. The government of Canada basically went nuclear and said, we will open up our economy at all costs, putting our very currency on the line, trusting that we can compel these truckers to go home. They are saying that they're going to put massive penalties against the trucks who are there, and any of these locations, especially at the border crossings. They're going to take away their insurance. I'm sure their licenses will be at stake. They've already talking about arresting people from that. Definitely a lot of things. Hey, good morning, or good morning, good evening, Tim. Glad you're doing well. And yeah, working with homeless people, man, it's good and godly work. God bless you. You do learn a lot. One of the things I learned by being a poor man, and I am a poor man, I'm not ashamed of it. There's some people who are poor because they're living off the dole. And, I understand people gaming the system. My job's not to attack them, but there's a lot of people who are poor because you don't get help when you're poor. No one sees the advantage. So you do have to do a lot of things on your own, and you learn independence. And learning self sufficiency is its own reward. And I'm grateful the Lord teaches us those lessons, even though sometimes it's difficult. Because you know what? If things fall apart, if you're standing one step above the ground, it ain't too bad of a fall. From the ivory tower, good luck keeping your neck together. Um, but back to Canada. This is what today's show is about. Canada has decided to make it where they can take the money from anyone who's thought to be supporting these operations, that they've basically branded anyone involved with them as a terrorist. They've involved the financing it as trafficking, as well as through cryptocurrency, through bank accounts. And it's a form of economic warfare where the government of Canada has basically said that if you offer dissent, we are going to rob you of all your money. This is the Chinese social credit score system. This is what's been enacted, and I give credit to the premiers of Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Quebec who stood against this, and eternal shame and detriment to the premiers of, let's see, it'd be British Columbia, Ontario, Prince Edward Island, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and Newfoundland, who have not done the same. We'll see if that changes over time. This could be very fresh, but I think they have liberal premiers in those places, so I'm not expecting a whole lot from them for sort of obvious reasons. So we'll see what happens over there. But the Canadian government is basically decided that they are going to open up everything at all costs, which is funny because they really didn't seem to have an issue with an economic blockade when their government was running it. And from what I'm seeing on the people on the ground, I've seen reports back from the people in Coots and Milk River. They're standing strong. The government of Canada is saying they can commandeer the tow trucks, and unfortunately, sadly, there's some Michiganders who are helping the people in Windsor. They came across, and that's disgusting for those who did. Although the government does seem to intend.
What happened?
they couldn't get the tow trucks they needed in Canada, so some people from Michigan got hired or contracted from the Canadian government to help remove some of those trucks over there in Windsor,
Oh, lame.
which is really shameful. Okay, I'm back. All right, the thing cut me off, but I'm back, so that's good. If you guys can hear me, okay, give me a thumbs up. Let me know what's going on, so we can continue forward with the show tonight. But what I wanted to say to you is this is a very disturbing thing that's being set up, where basically governments are saying that if you stand against their economic interest and if you stand against their policy interest, which considering they obviously don't have a problem selectively classifying people. Trudeau's government has gone much further than most around the world to go ahead and basically label those who have not taken the job as lepers. So it's not about, economics really. It's about control. It's about a power grab. And this is Canada's January 6th moment where they will have to either choose to stand up against a tyrannical government, and we'll see where the chips fall if that's the case, if the military, if the police, who will stand with them, or they will live in a country where the cost of speaking out is the government can take all your money. And this is a pretty dangerous move from the government if you really think about it, because people might decide they don't want to support this money. And this is what people are speculating who are in the know tonight. You think about Trudeau, you're thinking about someone who's a World Economic Forum graduate, one of their young scholars, and someone who has been deep in the sort of communist capitalist milieu back to the time when his mother was whoring around with Fidel down there on the island. And if you don't believe me, go read her own biography. She talks about it. That's a matter of public record. And if you've looked at a picture of Pierre Trudeau, you know he's not the guy. I mean, he probably wasn't the guy for anyone, honestly, except maybe, he might have, if he lived today, joined the hair club for men with the look he was sporting. Anyway, so leaving him aside, what I wanted to say was that now we've reached a spot where governments are delegitimating their own currency. And one of the things that a lot of people talked about, and that was part of Klaus Schwab's Great Reset, was the question of how they were going to get out of the debt bubble that they're in. That's really terrible. And the answer is if you destroy the currency and you can now blame it on the truckers. And there have been some people who've said from the beginning, be careful, this is a psyop, it's too well organized, and that these guys are being set up as fall guys to bring in a totally different system. But whether that's true or not, and there are very smart people making that argument, I understand that argument. Nonetheless,
I've made that
now you have
argument.
Dana's made that
I've
argument.
made
No,
that
but the
argument.
thing about it is the Canadian people now, when you put in a high risk strategy like this, let's assume the government's behind it all. There is an opening and an opportunity. And this is the time when people in Canada have to take the next step forward, which is to double down on their protest and to have a general strike. Shut the country down. And look, if Canadians don't want to take the risks of going outside and having the issues of your government being rotten to you, I understand that. That's fine. We can all just stay home. And this is another way to exercise an economic blockade. The government needs you. The government cannot exist without the productive efforts of its various people because you lose confidence and the debt they rely upon, which is basically slavery on your neck. They can't whip you when you don't show up. And there's more of you than there are of them. But the problem is we're always scared and we're worried about. So we are now entering the post-money world, and Canada's leading the way. And why not? Canada's been post everything for so long. Let's see what happens up there. But I'm sure they're getting help and advice from the American government, from the World Economic Forum, and mostly more than anything. It even said it. They had Minister Freeland, Deputy Minister Freeland, on there, and she was saying, "Yeah, no, we got advice from the banks of Canada." Of course, you got advice from the banks of Canada, because what was I telling you? You're not fighting against a political system. You're fighting against a banking system that is controlling this whole construction. And that's what this battle is all about. So we're going to keep an eye on how it shakes out tonight. But at the same time that's happening, I was reading just before that they have this massive sea armada off the coast of Iran that people are tracking, massive Russian troop movements on the border. The Ukrainians are claiming that the 16th is going to be their National Day of Unity because everyone's promising this attack, as every embassy is moving westward with the thoughts that Russians are going to annex everything east of everything to Kiev and east. And you hear all these things, the wars and rumors of wars. You better be on your knees praying to the Lord Jesus if you haven't done so already, because we're getting pretty close to what could be the end times. Who the hell knows? Um, Definitely a lot of pieces on the board, and these are all interrelated. The idea that the war is against the people to invalidate the currency, and the wars of big spending that allow government to have the reason to issue a new currency. They got a big problem, okay? The governments of the world and the controllers of the world need to have money that has meaning to get out from the debt bubble of the previous one, you to get away, or for them to get away with it, and to get people to accept a new vision of equity that leaves the same people in control. The war allows them to erase the debts and gives them the distraction, whereby the domestic unrest potentially allows them to issue the new currency and to do it with this new social media thing, saying that it's the threats abroad. I think it's no accident that Trudeau talked about Ukraine just 2 minutes before he went into this horrible declaration, this emergency act. The two are directly interrelated in the same way that World War One is directly interrelated to what happened with the Fed. You can't afford the state of debt and banking propaganda unless you have wars, because you need the destruction of wealth and people to balance the books. Otherwise, it doesn't work. It's the heat loss, if you want to think of it, from the energetic system that is basically corrupting finance. And that is what we're watching come into real time being. So, what does it mean for the people? That's what we care about, right? What it means is there's a very high chance there might be a bank run. And it's a completely rational thing for the Canadians to do at this point, but I'm not sure if it's the right thing to do for one big reason. You can't allow them to just take your money, although their money's as fake as anything. But the problem is, if you make a run on it, then they'll say, oh, we need major banking reform, so you can't do these things so that people can have confidence in our economy. And how they play it, I mean, you're going to have to change. It's like I say on the show all the time. My buddy, what do you say for John McClane? You always have
Big
the
big 5D John McLean.
big 5D John McClane always says one of my
5D
best
chess.
5D chess, right? That Dana always says to me, or he always says to me, I'm sorry, that what we need to do is, he said one of my best episodes I ever did is, I did an episode a while back, if you can't change anything until you change everything. And that's where the Canadians are at, and they're not alone in that. The New Zealanders seem to be in a similar boat, Australia, and it's not going to be long before America gets dragged kicking and screaming in that way, despite the fact everyone's been keeping kind of a cool head down here, because as we watch this go to other places, we are not going to be the lone holdout. So throughout the Anglosphere and throughout Europe, other countries as well, Austria, Germany, the Netherlands, Finland, seeing people out in all these places. So it's certainly not restricted to the English speaking world, although it does seem to be more of a phenomenon of the Western world than it does. You don't really see this in Asia, but then again, you didn't have insane lockdowns. You had ivermectin in India and Japan, which I think was a much better policy from those governments, and they didn't go through these crazy mandate lockdown things. All right, give me 1 second. I got to adjust here because where I'm sitting is not comfortable enough. I want to make sure I don't blind the wife or she'll yell at me. All right, I think that's a little better, at least for the moment. I'm a little antsy tonight. I mean, aren't you? How's everyone else doing tonight? I hope you guys are having a good night. I don't usually do nighttime shows anymore because I'm tired, but I did take a little nap, so I can have a chance to look at some of the things that are happening out there. And we're going to see what happens in the streets now. The next step, the government's made their shot. They've said different things. We're going to see if the crowd swells in Ottawa tonight. I'm expecting it may. And we'll see who's willing to enforce their laws. I mean, one of the interesting things Trudeau said about the law, about the enforcement side of it, is that in this emergency declaration, that the local authorities, which would be in the case of Ottawa specifically, I believe the Ontario Provincial Police, are not automatically going to be pushed aside by RCMP like it would be in the US, where you'd have federal jurisdiction assumed, but it would be more like one of those things where if they asked for extra help. The other thing is, if the Canadian Parliament has any balls, which I'm sure they don't because Tories never do, but if they do, them and the Bloc Québécois, who might, because, hey, you're French, disagreeing is what you do, they might go ahead and they have the ability to reject this emergency act by Trudeau within the next, I think, 7 days. And they are claiming that this act will only last for 30 days. Remember, 2 weeks flatten the curve type people. So this is something people really need to push back against. And we'll see if the Canadians, we're going to learn a lot about Canadians tonight, I guess. And it's not going to take a lot of people. It's going to take a small, brave number of people to stand up against this. I was rereading the speech that Patrick Henry gave, the infamous Liberty or Death speech. And one of the things that it says in the last paragraph is, the next gale that blows in from the north will bring with it, the sound of war. And we are hearing that northern wind blow here in the middle of our dark winter, right? That we're seeing this come down, and we're seeing it come out of Canada. And maybe they're trying to stage manage the transition into the new social credit score system, into the currency, and they're trying to lead people by using truckers as the fall guys so they can go into an automated system. Or maybe they're just not that clever and they found themselves trapped and they decided, we have to throw all in or we're going to lose it anyway. Is this the move of a desperate government that's losing control? Is this the move of a cabal that's trying to arrange a change of money? Could these two be one and the same? And who's actually playing the game harder, in terms of where are the people going to sit? And to this point, I will tell you, to their credit, I've been watching the Canadian response, and the people who are there on the ground understand what they're there for. They understand that they're not going home until this is won, and God bless them for it. And we here in the United States should support them however we can. I won't give credit to the people of Give, Send, Go, who I believe have been and will continue to hold strong. And what will be interesting is when the American government tries to suppress the American people, helping the Canadian people in their struggle. What will we do? What will be the next steps in that? So that's kind of where the game is at this point in the evening. And the question is, well, at this point, the other question is if they'll get us into a world war at the same time, so we can't work on all these things. One of the things that we've been dealing with so frequently these last few years is that everything has been done to us all at the same time, so we don't have the time to respond. And that's kind of one of the things you deal with when you're dealing with AI warfare. And I'm sure there's a lot of predictive
It's
models of
like
this
we've
disease.
just been existing in this like chronic low level of anxiety and PTSD for 2 years now.
We are, but I really believe this is the kickoff to the end game. This will herald a currency reset. And this is something they've been talking about for a very long time. We've been talking about for a very long time. And what is currency? Currency is something you give value to have exchange between different people. And we can either choose to accept what they give us or reject what they give us. There's no reason we can't make our own currency from scratch. They do. I mean, but we would have to agree to resettle the board in a way that everyone can find equitable. And there's got to be some balance between what you earned and you value and you need to survive, you get to keep, and some level of an even ground level where you don't allow people to be super rich and you don't allow people, you don't want to have people who are super poor either, and how you balance that out. Because what they're going to say is, hey, everyone gets free money with our plan. And even if you're poor, if everyone feels like they're poor together, that will sell well. And the people who they think will fight against that will be people saying, no, I want the old system because I earned my stuff. But remember, your money's just as fake as their money, no matter how much sweat equity you put into it. And so we're going to fight this battle now of what it means to be a member of society, what citizenship will be measured by. And in their world, it's going to be compliance to the regime of, complete universal tolerance, humanism, and sort of like this malign namby-pamby. It's almost like a satanic passivity of saying, oh, we live in the best world we can imagine. And it's just a bad system they imagine. It's one you will not be able to escape. It will not have social mobility, and it will be stultifying. It will be like Orwell, or not like Orwell. It will be like Huxley. It won't be like Orwell. It will be like Huxley. It'll be where you'll be drugged into happy oblivion, and you'll probably be on tech watching Meta, with dancing Chuck E. Cheese dolls. And if that's what you want to go to, great. I mean, their wings were better than people thought. But other than that, I don't think there's anything really worthwhile having there. And we could have an alternative to that, but it's going to require us to stand together. And we're going to come to an age where things are going to be very different very soon. I told you at the beginning of the weekend that you need to be watching for this weekend. I told you if you need to go get supplies, you needed to be doing that. If you haven't done so already, you probably want to get to it because we might have war in a couple days, and then the government's going to say you can't get things because we need it. And they're going to say at the same time they're going to put you into desperation and poverty and say, oh, if you got a problem, here's a solution. Go be meat for the grinder. And you could see how this is going to play out. But remember, you got to ask, where is the enemy? Is the enemy overseas, or is the enemy at home? Who is it who's responsible for the things that makes this world not happy? Who is it responsible for the degeneracy? Who's funding this? Who's supporting this?
Sultan.
Exactly, Satan. Well, Satan is, and where do you see the occult symbol the most? You see it on the money. You see it on the dollars. So this is the battle, and I'll tell you what. I'm glad it's finally coming to fruition. I'm glad we're going to get to see it. And you know what? I hope people do have the courage and the wisdom to stand together against the world system, against these beast systems. And you know what? If I can help in any way, I'm going to try. I mean, I'm not. I'm an old man who's a pretty good scholar. I think I'm a decent strategist, and I can do some things. But just we got to try to help one another now, and we got to help each other in our communities, and we have to not give in when it's easy, and not give in when it's hard, and it's going to take some resilience. And look, I know what I'm speaking of. I've had national media attack me and write hit piece after hit piece. To this day, even then, every now and then, everyone tries to do the old kick Mr. Tom in the butt stuff. But you know what? After a while, you realize it doesn't matter what others think about you. It matters what you think to be true and what you believe to be true, and you have to live your own beliefs. And I try to live as a Christian. I try to be mindful of how I take care of others, and I try to speak the truth and the idea that we do have free will, and that in order to have the exercise of virtue, you need the reality of liberty. And I might crap over liberty in terms of how governments are structured, but we can tell when we have people who are not just against liberty, but they're beyond being evil. They're inept, And I personally don't think they're as clever as they think. I think we've just been more scared because we've had too much to lose. But you know what? At the other side of the world they want, we don't have the ability to have our own thoughts without being monitored and cataloged and being pushed aside. So we have to win this fight. Sometimes you have to be on ground you have to stand on. And now this is a war of the people against the governments, and they've declared economic war on us. And they might want to put us onto one system, but we can always choose something else. And I guess that's my message for tonight. I want you to know that you always have choices. And for the people of Canada who are probably scared and worried, and this isn't something any of them were looking for, they branded as terrorists. Literally, I've seen more Canadian flags out this side of an Olympic gold medal up there in men's hockey. So this isn't what it's been about. The only person I see two or three people stagecraft with symbols that have, certain. And let's say they did. You don't see people go nuts when you see the sickle go up at communist rallies. I mean, let's be honest about it. They killed a hell of a lot more than anyone else did if you study the history of it. But that's permitted because those people have been on board with this for a very, very long time. And so my hope and my prayer for tonight is that the Canadian people can stand strong, that they're able to weather this storm, and that we as Americans can help them. And whatever we can do, we should do. And, we'll see what they go out there and do. And especially for the people who are in law enforcement and who are going to be dealing with this, you got to really think whose side you're on now, because the morality is on the different side of the law, and they went out of their way. Trudeau said it, the rule of law, the rule of law. Well, you know what? The laws have been arbitrarily imposed, and you've been picking people who are winners and losers for a very long time in Canada, as all of our countries have. And the people who've been losing for a really long time are getting sick of it. And, it's not that they've never asked to have any special treatment. They've only been asked to be treated equally and fairly with respect for their heritage and their traditions. And for the Canadians who've been literally taken more than anyone else, it's good to see them standing strong. So we'll watch how this plays out. We continue to see that playing out, and we continue hearing these rumors that war is going to break out with Russia on the 16th with Ukraine. I mean, everyone in the West seems to be moving back. It seems almost like an organized surrender of certain sorts. Although you have these stories, these old ladies the Ukrainians are sending to the front lines. Is this to create a sort of, how should I put it, a cinematic backdrop to try to drag the West into war? Look, I'm not fighting the Russians. I might fight the Chinese if they were at my doorstep, because I think they're liable to do some things that are really awful. I've studied their history, but I'm not fighting for America. I'm not fighting for Canada. I'm not fighting for the UK. I'm not fighting for Europe. I'm not fighting for NATO. I'm fighting for my fellow Christians. I'm fighting for my neighbors. I'm fighting for a way to escape this beast system that's being imposed on the world. I'm fighting against this idea they can take all you earn in a moment because you participate in wrong thing. And I'm fighting so that nobody can have that power again. Nobody should have the power to judge you except the Lord Jesus Christ. That's the only one. Everyone else, they got no right. And it might sound weird for me, Lord knows I throw out caustic comments, but at the end of the day, you have to account for yourself. And these people, what they want to make us into is a world we don't want to live in. So it's man versus the machine, and it's hockey night in Canada.
Mhm.
So we'll see. Hopefully, grapes will show up. I'd like to have Don Cherry comment upon this. Where's he been, anyways? For those of you who know, anyone who can rock the red plaid sweaters, all right by me. All right. But instead, we get Jim Leahy. That's a fine. All right. We'll let the liquor do the talking, as the old Trailer Park supervisor would say. So, what I want to say in closing to everyone who's watching the audience here is the world is shaking itself apart. So, you please get ready. Please be prepared. Be intelligent. And let's watch how this plays out a little bit. It's going to play out quickly. And I will tell you, if you have assets that are in volatile, how should I say, vehicles. Cash is a volatile vehicle at this point. To be honest with you, crypto. I mean, accessibility to it's an issue. People are going to go into it, but the government's going to go against it. I don't know. I mean, maybe spot silver was the way to go. Who knows?
No.
Yeah, right. I think that, but getting the assets you need, shit, a bit Ricky. That's a
Mr. Leahy, not another night.
Oh, let me tell you something. So, a true story. I have been to the places in Nova Scotia where that's been filmed. I went out of my way, and it really is actually a much more accurate and poignant description of what life is actually like out in certain areas of there. I think when people watch that show, they think it's complete fiction, but
It's
it's
real.
closer. It's closer to reality than not. It's a little overwrought, but not as much as you might think, and that's what makes it real, and that's what makes it funny. For those who don't know, we're talking about Trailer Park Boys, which is a Canadian comedy set in Nova Scotia, which
And
is
you
very,
shouldn't
very
watch it because
funny.
it's very
It
degenerate.
is incredibly degenerate and it's incredibly funny. So I don't know what to say. It's one of those bad compromises some of us make. Lord knows we all could be better Christians. But at this point, I think it's most important to remember to honor God and to try to help one another. And I think the Lord will forgive a lot if you're following those two things. Hey, he says as much. It counts for a lot. It says that in the Bible, actually, that if you're doing something to lead a sinner back from being astray, a lot of your own things will be forgiven. I think that's good. And John Dunsworth was extraordinarily talented. Yeah, we definitely enjoyed the Jim Leahy character. Very well acted.
Who's your favorite?
What character?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Leahy was good. I mean, it's Bubbles is good in a different way. I mean, Ricky's the key to the show, in my opinion. I like Cyrus too, because he's
You
just a good.
like
I like
Cyrus?
Cyrus. Yeah, I like
That's
Cyrus.
terrible.
Well, no,
What do you
he's
like
like a
about
perfect like
Cyrus?
little French comic book villain. But anyway,
You're right. He kind of does.
yeah, he is. Actually, of all the characters, I think Julian's probably the least likable in a lot of ways. But over time, it's fine. There has to be a solid guy.
Yeah, I like Julian the least, believe it or not.
And no, I believe that. Well, most everyone does. So that's the case. I mean, Bubbles is. I hate Conky though. If I ever saw Conky,
Oh my
I'd
gosh.
drown Conky. Conky's a pup. Anyways, you guys don't want to hear me talk. Or maybe you do want to hear me talk about Trailer Parks. Why are you dressed as a bumblebee, Randy? Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, yeah. That show's very degenerate.
I'm
We
sorry.
just watched the series arc where they actually ended up in Bangor in Maine, where Bubbles was stealing the Swayze Express train. But anyway, Canadian culture is weird. I don't know what to say. We live very close to Canada. I can say that, and but it's fun. I like the Canadians. I get along with them. They're like us, but different. And that's okay. We're learning about them. We're learning about each other, and our futures are now inextricably intertwined, and that's the real story of the evening. That we're going to try to keep an eye on that, and we're just going to have to watch it. So, I'm going to keep watching it. I'm supposed to start another book, and I want to put a book out for you guys, but the problem is events are going to overtake this. So, one of the things I'm going to be doing is if we see things start breaking out, either in America, in Canada, in Russia, and that, I'm going to give you the best coverage you're going to get. I might even get off my lazy butt and put the was it the camera on the computer. Maybe we'll try to do one of those things where I do it in screen, and that is something that I would be able to do to let you see what's going on. We'll give you in-depth coverage of everything that's happening, and we'll look at the deeper players that are behind this. Remember, the world needs to be reset. They broke it with COVID, and they broke it, and they're trying to reset it how they want to. Much like you break a joint, we have to let them not do that. We have to force them to do things a different way, and it will require a fight because there's certain entities like China that are totally on board with this system. I would argue the European aristocracies are totally on board with this system. So we'll see how it plays out, and we're going to learn who our controllers are, who our friends are, and we should expect surprises. We should expect people we thought were total douchebags to be helpful, and we should expect allies to betray us. And as this battle of the people against the powerful, of it's was it like that song you played, the government against God. I mean, the God fearing
God
folk,
over government.
God over
It
government.
was so good.
It was
It's
very.
in the community
It's
page
in
if
the
you guys want to go check it out. It's a really cool song.
Indeed,
I like those
indeed it
guys a
is.
lot.
So that's, I think, what I got for this evening. I don't have a lot to say because I did do a show earlier. Murray, you got anything you want to say, buddy?
Um,
Murray
were
is
you
now on
talking
camera.
about silver?
I just mentioned it in passing that people might do well to get some. You know.
Well, I got our silver pellets from Stu Peters' sponsor, Step on Socks.
Step on
Um,
Socks is a fun little company. We don't get paid for anyone. I mean,
no.
honestly, we get money taken from us. PayPal's already banned me, so they can't really do too much damage to me. I'm already broke. You all have seen this. Like literally, I was saying on my Facebook, I'm not even joking. How long will it be before the eggs we have are worth more than the dollars coming out of the bank? And I
Yeah,
don't think it's
right.
gonna be that long, given the way the inflation's running.
But you can get an ounce of silver for like $47, and it comes in a cool little pouch, and
Hmm.
it's better than nothing.
Yeah,
And
I don't know. I don't know the pricing, but
it's in teeny little pieces so that you can break it
you can
up
trade
and
it up a
like
little bit.
trade and barter, and all not losing your big honking
Exactly.
silver coins. It makes more sense.
There's a gold mine in northern Maine. Did you know that? Or there's a mountain that supposedly
I
has the
know
three
there
trees.
is a mountain
So
over
what do
in
you
the
say?
west.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we get in our winter gear? We got the Antarctic gear. We'll take a couple pickaxes and we're gonna go break the bank. What do you think? That's gonna be our plan for this. We're gonna go all Klondike on northern Maine, and if they come along, we'll
So you're
be
you're gonna go digging side by side with an elf then?
yeah. How about with a friend?
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife's an elf and I'm a dwarf, except I'm a lot taller than
You're a
her.
big
But
oafy
yeah,
giant dwarf.
exactly, I'm a big oafy giant dwarf. Anyway, so the Lord's blessing upon each and every one of you, and thank you for being here. Appreciate that. I will be back as events warrant, and I'm just telling you, keep an eye on this thing. Economic warfare is going forward, and yeah, I don't know what the spot price is for the different ounces of what you're getting. I know one thing that people have been doing this for years say is go to pawn shops and get junk silver. So a lot of people can
I
do that
mean,
with certain times, and
like weight wise, holding it in my hand,
mm,
that it felt like I paid a reasonable price for the amount of silver that we got. Do you guys
okay.
want to see it? I can pull it out.
You're not, this is like the number one rule you break of your preps. You're not supposed to share, like, hey, here's the
Yeah,
bank.
but I want,
We literally have 1 ounce, so
but
don't
I
like.
want them to be able to have
Okay, all right.
silver.
Dana wants to show it.
Yes,
Dana's excited.
it's
She got.
cool.
All right, everyone, be nice to Dana. Dana got this on her own, and she's proud of it, and I'm proud of her because. Hey, how many women do you know? Seriously, how many women do you know who are thinking, "Hey, I want makeup. I want that." My wife's like, I need stock commodities.
I
I
need
need incubators and silver. I love my wife. Oh, I could have done that. I could.
Yeah,
I'm an idiot, and I'm tired.
here it is.
There you go, a little bit of
Here,
silver
hold it.
there. Okay, there you go.
That's little
That's our
silver.
bling.
But it's tiny little pellets.
You know what? That is a good
And
point,
you
though.
could parse it out for trading and bartering. And this is the company. Step
And I'm
on.
gonna need my axe.
Step on socks. But I mean, like that's a pretty. I mean, that's a solid amount of
Yeah, it's
silver.
nice. It's good.
I'm glad I got it.
You did good.
It's really cool.
You did good.
It's shiny.
It's shiny.
It's
It's
shiny.
shiny. There you go. Oh man, my book collection, man. People love my book collection. I got. Let me give you a pro tip. I shouldn't give you this tip, but I'm going to give it to you. If you live in an area where you're worried about accessibility to things, go ahead and get yourself some bolt cutters. Use them how you want. Let's see. She has more. Ryan says you have more real money than 99% of Americans.
Is
You're
that
in the
for real?
wealthiest 1%.
Ah!
There you go. That
Wealthiest one
it's called
percent.
silver shot. It's usually melted to make bars and artwork. So there you go.
Oh,
Now you
that's
know. So
cool.
there you go. So I am not. I'm not. You'd think I worked for Ron Paul, but I am not actually a currency bug. I was in crypto land for quite a while.
I
Now I'm
understand
not.
how the currency markets work a little bit. I learned that
Thanks to Ghost.
from
Yeah.
Ghost,
Good old true capitalist radio, right?
but like I dare not dive down the the rabbit hole that is cryptocurrency. I
No,
can't handle it.
crypto. Who knows what's going on in crypto land? A lot of people think Monero is going to make a little bit of run. I haven't looked at that market, but the fact that Canada is being so aggressive about it's going to be interesting if you see flight to or from crypto, and it's going to be a problem there too because a lot of the people in Canada. This is kind of short sighted. Doesn't a lot of the money that exists in Vancouver come from Chinese people who are hiding their money in crypto, which is why they're going to have to be incredibly selective, only punishing their own citizens and not the Chinese who they've been allowing to bankroll that government for a very very long time. Things are bad up there in Canada, and I will say this. Look, I'm not a Q guy in any way, shape, or form, but I do think it's interesting all this stuff coming out about Dunham, about Ukraine at the exact same time. That the same peoples whose names were in that are the ones who are pushing hardest for war with Russia. Is there a relationship? I think we're going to find out pretty soon. In the meantime, keep safe. Be smart. Keep your head on a swivel. Follow this. We'll put the news for it. If you want to help support the program, please do. It will be helpful. Before the government takes your money, give it to me. Venmo, CVCPRV, PO Box 35, Greenville Junction, Maine
That's
zero four four
terrible.
four. Dude, it's the truth of it. They're going to do it. At least I'll convert it into something useful. One, you get entertaining, get an honorable mention, or left alone as you want.
And I'll get to go see the doctor.
And you'll get to go see the doctor. Absolutely, that's
I'm
another thing
excited
we're
about
doing with
that.
that. But I will, if we get through this week unscathed, I've actually got plans for two different books. One I've mentioned about restarting civilization. One that nobody knows about that I'm working in my mind. I don't even think I'm going to tell the wife about it. I just want to finish it and put it in here, and then we'll see what you think. It's much more edgy. I might have to have a pseudonym for that book, to be honest with you, because I could get in trouble for writing that book. But hey, we got to help, and I'm a strategist, so I'm going to help how I know I do things, which is to tell people how we need to fight our battles. But the biggest battle you want to fight is, oddly enough, on your knees, and that's the battle for your soul and for your salvation. And I would just say, if you haven't, please take a little time to try to get to know the Lord Jesus, pray, and hope for a better outcome for yourself by accepting the gift of grace.
Why don't you do an altar call?
Huh?
Why don't you do an altar call?
Well, I kind of do. The way I don't have the audience size to do it. I know everyone in here and who's.
Just say
So, but yeah, if you guys want to, dedicate your life to the Lord Jesus, tonight's the night. Go for it. So I'm here. We're here. You have a lot of people will witness, and just look out for your brothers and sisters and bring them along. Remember, the Lord's going to judge you by how you take care of others, even in a hard time. And of course, the expectations are, if people come at you, it's one thing, but when people have need, try to think and try to plan ahead. Because we who know more, who've been blessed, who are smart, we got to try to use what we can. Because ultimately, if we can't keep civilization together a little bit, they're going to win. And that's a harder thing, to be the good guy in a time when bad guys are winning. But let's hope for the best, and let's just lead a quick prayer. Heavenly Father, just pray for the people of Canada and around the world tonight who are standing against the cynical use of money. Who are seeing the world system come against them, and we hope, God, that those of us who pray to you that we might find your system, that you would lead us to, I don't want to say the victories that we want, but that you lead us in a way where we can lead people away from these systems that so degrade mankind. And we just ask that this be an opportunity and a blessing, or that if this be your will, that judgment come upon us, that at least you lead those people who understand this is not what you want, that you protect those, and just ask that the blood of the Lamb be washed over each and every one of us. So, in Jesus' mighty name, I pray that, and amen. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you for spending a little time with me tonight. Short show, but I will be coming back on. You'll probably get a show from me tomorrow morning, and then I think I'm going to be off on Wednesday because I desperately need a break day, and I haven't had one. And this week has just been hellacious. I mean, I was out again for a bunch of hours, and my night ain't even over yet. It's crazy. So hopefully that will work out better. If you hear any hot news, please share it with us. And if you have any good rumors as well, the Telegram group, t.me/Atlantic Homeland. You can also comment here in the community page. Thank you to everyone who participates, and God bless each and every one of you. Anything from you, Dana?
Yeah, just definitely check out the community page from time to time because I try to post. I
You
try to
like
put.
Dex?
I try to post good content in
Wait, wait.
there for you guys.
Let's see if you. And how are you doing tonight, Dana?
Well, hello, Fukel fam. Hello, Marv. I'm doing all right.
He's like, hi, I'm doing just fine.
I'm doing just fine. Oh, that's right. I'm doing just
He's
fine.
just
Yeah.
fine. All right. So, yeah, everyone has their catchphrases. So, Pinelander out. God bless you guys. Have a good night.